So I've been asked a few times, why would you do something like EBC? So I thought I'd just do this video to try and address that question. Obviously personal to me, it's different for everyone else I'm sure. First and foremost, I think it's doing stuff like this. It's adventurous, hard, challenging, pushing your limits. Things like marathons, Spartan races, and climbing mountains in the thin air. It sets an example for my kids, sets an example for Owen and Ruby. I know that the wiring in a teenage brain tends to tell them that whatever their parents tell them to do the opposite. So I think at that sort of age you need to start leading by example. You need to start doing things that, you know, eating well and challenging yourself and trying to stay physically fit and setting an example of just self-improvement every day. So that's certainly one big driver for it. For me personally as well, I'm quite aware, I've become more and more aware over the last sort of 10 years that more and more people are unhappy with their lives. I think they're angry, they're frustrated. You certainly see that on social media, and I think that a lot of that comes from just a loss of hope. I wouldn't be the first person to have said that, but that certainly rings true with me. People seem to just not see much in their future, they don't really see a compelling future. For me personally, I find that rather than let the world around me be right, I think it's important that we try and build compelling futures for ourselves. We try and lead a compelling life and take some responsibility, have some discipline in our lives, and you know, we make the world what we want it, rather than sit there complaining about it on Facebook and Twitter and the like, and you know, doing or moaning. I think there's a mindset issue there. So doing something difficult like EBC is, you know, it's just part of that whole journey of setting goals and working towards them, which in itself is very motivating. Once you've got a goal, actually getting to the goal itself, you're always surprised that you're never quite as happy as you think you're going to be, but you're a lot happier working towards the goal. So I think there's something to be said there about setting the goal and then achieving it and setting a new one. I think we all found that with EBC. The day after, we were a little bit deflated. I mean, some of us climbed Pathar and that just killed us, so it might have been that. But you know, you are immediately looking for the next thing, because there's something in our wiring, all of us, where we seek novelty. We're novelty-seeking machines, aren't we? We're always looking for the next shiny thing. It doesn't matter how good that Christmas present was, by sort of mid-afternoon, you're starting to get bored of it. It doesn't matter how good that film was that you watched. By the second and third time that you watched it, it's never quite as good. We're always looking for the next best thing. And we can often get into this trap of trying to accumulate more in terms of wealth and material possessions. So I won't be the first person to have said this, but I think it's a bit of a fool's errand. There's obviously something to be said about accumulating wealth, because it means that you can come to places like the Durbar Square in Kathmandu, so it buys experiences, and that in itself is very rewarding. But the actual sort of goal of wealth accumulation and material things, I think doesn't make you happy. We all kind of know that, but we just sort of ignore it a little bit. But I think coming to places like Nepal and the Himalayas and seeing the way the Sherpa live up in the Himalayas, everyone says you're surprised about how happy people are, even though they've got very little, and that says a lot. So yeah, there's that. So setting goals, I think just living a life of trying to make small incremental improvements every single day. I think most people sort of underestimate or overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade. And if you just make one small improvement to your life every single day, whether it be sort of lifting heavier weight or doing a challenge like this is obviously a bigger challenge, but even just learning a new language, a bit of a new language, or even a new skill day, then after a year you're going to be a better person just because you can do more. In a decade you're going to be a completely different person. Those cumulative and compounded sort of improvements day after day will really add up. And reading a book, accumulating a little bit of knowledge, I think that's quite a good thing to aim for. I think it's contrast as well. I think contrast is important, and that's one of the things that I've really noticed from this. If you do hard things every so often, it makes you appreciate the stuff that we start to take for granted. And it all sounds a little bit cliche, but it's really, really true. Having spent nearly 2 weeks in the Himalayas, you forget how much we take for granted warmth and how sort of readily available it is to us. Turn the thermostat, the heating comes on. You turn a hot tap, as long as the boiler's working, and you get hot water. You open the tap at home and you've got clean running water. You go a week without those things, and when you get them back, your threshold for novelty has dropped significantly, and you're really happy about it. And it's easy to do, and I think you can do that every day in your life if you have a little bit of discipline. You sort of exercise. That's why I exercise so much, actually, because this is how you exercise, because you enjoy it. So I kind of enjoy it afterwards, but while I'm doing it, I hate it. But because of that toil, that hardship, the rest of the day feels much better because you're not in pain. So it's just sort of it's a mindset thing. It's that contrast. So yeah, and I think ultimately all of that adds up with a bit of responsibility for your own actions and a bit of discipline. It adds up to building a compelling life and building a compelling future. You can look ahead and think, I am actually going to be a better person. If I've done this, I'm going to be stronger. Mentally, I'm going to be different as well. Say spiritually, I mean, that word means different things to lots of different people. I think for me, it's not so much supernatural, but it's more about family and I think love. I think you need to invest in all of those things. So doing something like this mentally is very rewarding, physically exceptionally rewarding. I feel a lot stronger. Not just that we're all altitude active now and can run 100 metres, not get out of breath, which is quite a strange sensation. I'm going to miss that actually once, because it fades quite fast apparently. But yeah, even I think for me the whole spiritual stuff, even though we're in this sort of like religious temple and everything, it's more about investing in the people around you, friends and family. I think we don't do that enough. Loneliness is obviously getting a lot worse in Western societies. We've lost something. You can't just sit there and expect people to make plans for you. You've got to do it. You have to invest in your relationships, whether it be your wife and your children, doing stuff with them, making sure that you do spend time. But even like my brothers, my uncle, my friends, my close friends. Organising something like this is excellent because it tests your relationship. I mean, I say if any of them watch this, I mean, there hasn't really been a moment, except when Rafe was winding me up, but there hasn't really been a moment where we've fallen out, and it's actually been commented on by other groups as well. So I can't believe all 10 of you are getting on so well with each other, and you all look like you're having a blast. And we were, because we had the right mindset. We went into this with this was never going to be easy. It was always going to be difficult, but we knew it and we managed our expectations in our own minds. I think everyone did that. The trekking company has some credit for that as well. You know, they warned us about Gorikshep, possibly the worst place on earth. No running water. The water you have to buy it out of bottles. They charge you a premium. There's zero electricity. If you want to charge your phone, you've got to pay 700 odd rupees. It's all off batteries and solar panels. The sun's not shining, etc., etc. But we were surprised at how many of the other trekking groups that we come across, how many of them were in the evenings really miserable, moaning, getting angry at the Sherpa, which was just, I mean, that for us that blew our minds. I just can't see how you could do that because they're putting their lives on the line as well, what they're doing. So yeah, we all enjoyed it, even though there were low moments, because there always will be. But obviously, I'm not going to put those on the videos I'm uploading because who wants to see that? But there were moments where some people were ill, altitude was hitting, but we just all supported each other, and everyone was in general happy. And I think that's what this all comes down to. It's happiness, and it's fair to say. I mean, you can't be happy 100% of the time. That's weird. Someone's walking around with a big grin on their face constantly, and you just think they're a nutter. But it's about sort of a general level of being happier, and this is all about that I said, the contrast, the strife, the building a compelling future, self-improvement, doing hard things, being disciplined, taking responsibility. This all plays into that, and yeah, I'd recommend it. I recommend doing anything like this, marathons and Spartan races and CrossFit WODs, all of it. It's important. I think you can live a content life and just not be so angry at the world. As you can see, even with a rotten cold as we've got now, we've all got a kumbu cough now and a cold, which we were told we would get as well. Thanks, Hector. No, you do this and you think life's great, and you look at all these people here and they've got nothing, most of them, genuinely, again cliche, they really don't have much at all. You can see people laughing and embracing. Diwali last night was incredible, how happy people are. Yeah. Peace. Namaste.